name is Karen Neurohr. I'm a librarian at Oklahoma State University. We are at the OSU ConocoPhillips Alumni Center. Today is October 21st, 2006, and we're going to be interviewing an alumni of OSU, Mr. Clyde Cheatham, for the project O State Stories, an oral history project of the OSU Library. Mr. Cheatham, when were you a student at OSU?
I started here in 1938 through 42.
And what activities were you involved in when you were a student here?
Well, there was a pep organization called the Roughnecks, and it didn't last through the war. I don't know what happened. Most of them got killed, I guess. The leaders. And I belonged to the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity. I was a member of Blue Key fraternity. I was on the livestock judging team with the International Livestock Show in Chicago. I was on the meat judging team at Fort Worth. Other than that, I worked.
Where did you work when you were a student?
Well, I worked at the meat lab, and I worked at a little cafe over here, Comanche Cafe, across from the fire station. I think it's closed. It doesn't go by that name anymore.
And it sounds like you were busy with several things in the livestock judging. Did you all have to qualify for the international show? Was that an honor that your group earned?
Well, there were 80 some of us in what they call junior judging at that time. And I think how many went? See, the coach is there, and then the rest are team members.
Oh, and where are you in this picture?
I think I'm right down here.
Okay, so this is your team.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's nice. Nice picture there. So what do you remember about that trip to Chicago?
I remember how cold it got. Kansas City, we had to be pulled up a hill by a bulldozer.
Oh.
So much ice. But that's in November, that's, you expect cold weather then there.
And Alpha Gamma Rho is an excellent fraternity from what I've been hearing today. Do you keep in touch with some of your fraternity brothers, or have you been able to keep in touch with them?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a little bit about your experience in AGR? Did you live at the fraternity house?
I lived there one semester. That's all I lived there. I had to work and make my way through school.
Where did you live the rest of your time here?
Well, I lived out on Ramsey. There were 14 of us lived there in that old lady's house.
So it was a boarding house?
No, just rooms.
Just rooms? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $7 a month. And then one year I lived at a place they called the Frat Shop. I don't know whether it still exists or not. It's across the street from the Omega House.
Well, how is it that you ended up coming to Oklahoma State University? What made you decide to come to OSU?
Well, the banker in my little hometown was a graduate of OSU and or Oklahoma A&M, and he'd loan any kid from there money for fees. So I took him up.
What was your major when you were here?
Well, I was in animal science and double major in agricultural education.
And what did you go on to career-wise with that degree, the degrees that you had?
Well, of course, I spent 5 years after I got out of college in the Navy, and then came back and I taught vocational agriculture for 19 years. And then I went into the grain elevator business.
Well, this weekend is homecoming weekend. Is this an event that you come to every year?
Try to, yes. Mhm.
Do you go to the football games?
Do I?
Do you go to the football game when you come?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you've been coming for a number of years. How is homecoming different now than when you were a student?
More people. Not a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of difference. I had small pictures and I didn't find it. I didn't know where to put it. But in the parade, this friend of mine had a horse. See, they taught horses in animal husbandry, and that was a big part of the parade. Those type things.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you'll see that today.
Were there some campus traditions that were going on that you remember when you
Well,
were
one of the main things is I had a little rivalry with University of Oklahoma and what we call guarding the campus. And the University of Tulsa had a good football team in those years, and we had a little rivalry with them.
So what was that about guarding the campus? Did students?
Oh, they try to paint, especially Old Central. That was the building that kind of cherished here.
Mm-hmm. So would students stay out all night to
Oh, yeah.
guard Old Central?
Oh, yeah. Mhm. One time, see down on there by the old AGR house, right by Theta Pond, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning and a car didn't stop, and one of the guys threw a 2x4 through his windshield, and that caused quite a stir. You know, we had to meet with Dean McElroy at Dean of Men. He acted like he was tough as nails, but I think he was glad we shattered the windshield. He had about as much love for OU as I do.
What were the buildings like here on campus? Where did students go and hang out at? Where were the classes held?
Well, Swims was one of the main places, and then here Daggy Drug. I don't know. Then when I was in school, they had social hour, and all the sororities would sponsor an hour dance around dinner time. And the dormitories, Murray Hall and North Murray. And see, Willard Hall was built while I was in school here. And the year I started, was the year they opened Cordell Hall. There was always something to do.
How did students dress back then when they went to classes?
Well, if I really dressed up, I wore striped overalls. What year were jeans invented?
I think they were invented in California for the miners. So maybe the 1800s, early 1900s.
When did they really start wearing jeans? See, that was after I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys who had a little bit of money wore slacks. About 50% of us wore overalls.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a car when you were in school?
There was one car in our fraternity house.
So that was unusual then, for anybody to have a car.
There weren't many cars.
How often did you get to go home when you were in school?
Maybe once a semester.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at the Comanche Cafe, the owner there had a contract with the athletic department to feed the basketball team. And the basketball team would play in the all-college tournament in Oklahoma City. So we stayed there, worked there. And of course, there weren't very many eating places.
Mhm. When you think about the classes that you took here at OSU, is there a favorite class or a favorite professor that comes to mind?
Oh, this guy here was good. Bruce Taylor. He was a good professor.
What did you like about him?
Well, he was honest, and he was very sincere, very straightforward, and very intelligent. Of course, there were others. There were some I wouldn't care much about.
Do you remember when the name of the university changed from OAMC?
Well, it was in the 50s.
Mhm.
I didn't take any part in that. I thought it was really fair that they do it that way. See, this was pretty much an agricultural school in the beginning, and always had a good engineering, good business school, and it was kind of unfair, and I think it's kind of unfair now the way the boards of regents are established or the way they're selected, because there are other good schools within this university. Give you an idea of the thinking in those times. The majority of the legislators were from the rural area. The president of the State Board of Agriculture is automatically a member of the Board of Regents. When they built Gallagher Hall, they called it the 4-H and FFA Convention Center, and that got the rural vote. The only vote that opposed that was the president of the State Board of Agriculture, Joe Scott. His daughter, during the interim, married all Missouri Valley basketball players played here. But I thought it was kind of unusual that he wouldn't vote for an arena like that.
Well, what was Theta Pond like when you were a student here? Was it?
About like it is now.
It just felt like it is now. Mm-hmm.
Probably as cold as it was when I was thrown in there.
You were thrown in Theta Pond?
Oh yeah, that was kind of a tradition with a lot of fraternities. You know.
Was it for the freshmen that were experienced that?
Pledges.
The pledges?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And what was the mascot when you were here? Did we have Pistol Pete as a mascot?
Not then, not when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when he started.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the old Pistol Pete.
You met Mr. Eaton, Frank Eaton,
Yes.
before. What do you remember about him?
Oh, he was a rugged old individual. Shoot the pistol.
Did he?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. On campus?
Well, I don't know about it on campus.
Mm-hmm.
One time, getting ready for 89ers Day in Guthrie, and some of his friends invited him over there, and I remember I was there that night. Dr. Ringrose, one of the old doctors there, Guthrie had a little party for individuals, and there was a salesman, clothing salesman, men's clothing. Asked him, "Can you shoot that?" And about that time, a mouse ran out the door, and he just blowed him up.
He did.
He was good. You know, he trained. He trained because his daddy was murdered when he was 14 years old, and one of the best pistol people taught him, and he followed those people for 3 or 4 years and finally got him when he was a kid. Yeah, he was a storybook.
He was a colorful character, wasn't
Oh
he?
yes.
Did he come on campus for different things that you remember?
Well, yeah, parades, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
different events. It was, yeah.
So did everyone feel a fondness for him?
As far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know,
And so before he became the mascot, what was the mascot?
I don't know.
Was it the Tigers when you were here?
The-
I'd heard the Tigers.
See, this school got its colors and part of its early tradition from Princeton. That's probably right.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember seeing the college administrators much out on campus, the president of the college?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Bennett was in so many different things. He was more or less a world leader
Mm-hmm.
and got things done.
He did. There was a lot of growth on the campus when you were here. Then you mentioned some of the buildings that were new, so I'm sure that there were many more students coming. And
Yeah, of course, just across the street was the dairy barn,
mm-hmm.
and they turned part of that whole dairy barn into office space. Yeah, it's changed.
What was Old Central used for?
I went to class there.
You had classes there, and you said it was a very highly revered building,
Yes.
that you all protected it. And so were your classes large or small?
Oh, 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I had most all my vocational agriculture classes.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Did you have any other family members that came to Oklahoma State University?
Well, let's see, I had Charlie, Jack, Bill, Harold. I had 4 brothers. And
How about any of your kids?
yes, my son and 2 daughters.
And do you have grandchildren that have come to OSU also?
I have 2 grandsons at school here now.
So it's a very strong family connection.
Pretty much, yes,
Mhm.
yes. You don't see much red in our family.
What do you think it is about OSU that that everyone feels so strong about it, that they come back for homecoming, they have family members who come here? Why do you think that is? What is special about Oklahoma State University?
Well, it's just, they taught us when we were freshmen in freshman orientation. You say howdy. That's the way it always went, you know. Spoke to everyone. Had a feeling for everybody.
Do you think it's still that way here?
Well, pretty much. I see them greet each other around here on the campus now. It's pretty much the same.
Have you given your grandsons any advice about coming to school here or being a college student?
Well, my youngest grandson was born in Tulsa, but he lived all of his life up to now in Ohio. And I encouraged him to come here because the tuition would be, well, if your relatives, I don't know how far down, are graduates, you'd pay the same tuition. And him being in Ohio, I didn't get to see those kids much.
Mm-hmm.
And his mother brought him down here. She wanted to verify that tuition would be, which was great. He's been a great joy to Molly and I. And then my other grandson that's in school here now, his dad and mother both went to school here. And my only granddaughter, she graduated here, and her husband graduated here. All OSU people.
What would you tell future students of OSU or people that are thinking about where they want to come? What advice would you have for them?
Well, I just think it's a good school, good, friendly atmosphere. Had some outstanding people graduating from this school.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do you have anything else you want to share with us today?
You didn't ask me about my biggest disappointment.
What was your biggest disappointment?
They fired a baseball coach that had been here 26 years. He recruited Pete Incaviglia, Robert Ventura, Dougie DeCenzo, most of the real high-class players.
Mm-hmm.
He recruited. When he started here, that very word Tom Holliday group started, Tom Holliday would go to California and recruit with $25 a day expense account. And they fired him and paid the incoming coach twice as much money as they were paying him. That's my biggest disappointment.
Mm-hmm. What kind of pictures did you bring today in your album? We might want to look at those just a minute. Got a little bit of time here. Tell me about this picture.
Well, that's a steer that the college had with it, that was grand champion.
Hold it up. Yeah, just hold it up so
That,
everyone can see it.
Does that have it right? At the International Livestock Show.
Mm-hmm.
The fella there is what they call the herdsman, beef cattle.
Mm-hmm.
He was noted as one of the best in the business.
What do you have to do to get cattle ready to show? What all do you have to do for
Well,
that?
groom them about like women groom their hair. Use the same ingredients.
So does it take quite a while?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite a chore.
Do the cattle seem to like it?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Very seldom you ever see an animal really make a resistance when he knows he's going to get flourished and groomed.
mm-hmm. Do you have any other pictures in there that we might want to hear about?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't find a picture of the meat judging team.
Mm-hmm.
These fellas here, I think, well, half of these guys are still alive, still living.
Who were the people in this picture?
Well, that was my first wife.
Mm-hmm.
She went to school here.
And is this the picture of you then?
Yes.
Is that when you were a college student?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see. Where's the picture when I was in the Navy?
I think it was back a couple of pages.
Was it?
Yeah,
Nothing of much significance there, I don't think.
keep going back that way. Right there.
We were probably the first class to graduate here that everybody had a job before they got out of school. Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines.
Mm-hmm.
If you were healthy, you had a job.
Mm-hmm. Well, is there anything else that you want to tell us about today?
Yeah.
Well, we sure do appreciate you coming for this project, and the OSU library will have these recordings, and they'll be available for students of the future. If they're doing research or anything, or if you have family members someday that are here and want to look up your information here in the library, we'll have that, and we'll be sending you copies of those as well. And thank you very much for coming
Sure.
today.
Thank you.